Alright, we should be live. We're back. We're working on Ashling the Limitless. Here she is in case you need a reminder of how she works. And we are at 71 cards, which means we need 11 more cuts in order for Ashling to be done. And all of those 11 cuts are going to be very painful things that I desperately wanted to keep on the list, and it's just not going to happen. We do not have room for everything, or in fact, a lot of things, so we have room for 60 spells, and one of them has to be Ashling, and the other 59 are all very contentious at this point. Like, what else am I going to cut from this deck that isn't already thing I wanted to keep? Yeah, so many of our things are all ready to go. I'm wondering, I am genuinely wondering at this point with the loss of Nim Deathmantle, if we lose Phyrexian Altar. This leaves us with Ashnod's Altar, Goblin Bombardment, Greater Good, Attrition, and what's the other side? Do we have another sacrifice outlet, or is that the are those the other three? Like, those are the ones we just passed. What are the other ones? Because the biggest thing about the altar is giving us a way to sacrifice a creature at instant speed. Excuse me, so that we can get value out of it dying. But 1 mana of any color is a lot worse for this deck than 2 generic mana is. 2 generic mana is halfway towards another Ashling activation. 1 mana of any color is significantly worse at that point. Also, Ashling herself is the main way to sacrifice elementals to get the thing started. Having another way to sacrifice an elemental is good with the tokens, or to cash in the original one as it's about to die anyway. So, because we have a few other ways to cash in the tokens for value, like Pyre of Heroes and Birthing Pod, I'm wondering if we actually even need Phyrexian Altar at this point. Because it's not like we're going to be hurting for things getting sacrificed in this deck. So, the biggest reason to have a card like Phyrexian Altar is so that we can sacrifice things that we didn't evoke with Ashling and still get value out of them, and so that we can use the things that we have evoked in order to get more mana towards evoking the next spell. And I think Mana Echoes, Food Chain, and Ashnod's Altar are all better than that. And because I am this hard up for cuts to begin with, I think it actually is Phyrexian Altar, which is genuinely surprising, but at this point I think actually correct. Yeah, this is a card that when I started building this deck, if you told me by the end of it I would cut Phyrexian Altar, I'd be like, okay, but that had to be one of the absolute last cuts, and it is. I would be more surprised that it went before the other. Like, we are now down to 10 cuts, so the fact that it is not in the last 10 is more shocking than the fact that it's getting cut. And even the fact that it's not in the top 5 is a little bewildering to me, but that might just be because I noticed it first on today's list. I do want to keep Crucible. Crucible is one of those cards that's not doing a thing that the deck wants, so arguing for its deck space is entirely predicated on it fixing the mana base so well. I'm starting to wonder if I am not cutting um the non like Soul Ring definitely stays, obviously. I'm debating if things like Felwar Stone should go. The deck is very mana hungry. It needs mana in 4 mana increments in order to do its thing most efficiently. Um Obviously we can get cards that will help with that where we need mana in like 3 or even 2 increments, which is super helpful. And we might still lose like the Gathering Stone and Herald's Horn at this point, because I'm running out of things to cut, but I am wondering if I would be better served by cutting Felwar Stone and possibly Arcane Signet at that point. And running things like the Soul Ring stays and the Worn Power Stone stays. Yeah, Ashling needs volume of mana at reasonable prices too. Like, I don't want to add in a card like Thran Dynamo, even though that taps for 3 mana, because I don't think that's good enough for this deck, and I don't really want to go back to Monolith and Mana Vault because they are not. They are only good that one time, and then you have to spend the mana to untap them. If I had more room for cards like that, I could see this deck wanting something like Manifold Key at that point to get back the extra mana from those cards more consistently, but we don't have room for that. I do think at this point Felwar Stone can go. This does mean that the deck does not ramp very quickly, so it's going to be a bit slower out of the gate because of that. That might make the argument for Ancient Tomb a bit more palatable as one of the 5 lands. Once we get going, we do have cards that once we get going will handle the mana. Altar, Food Chain, and Mana Echoes all being among them. So I think we can afford to lose the ones that get us started a tiny bit faster. Obviously, we're not cutting things like Soul Ring. Getting to go turn 2 Ashling is still way too powerful. Getting to go turn 2 Ashling, turn 3 evoke the first elemental is a bit too strong. I don't think I could bring myself to cut anything that would allow for that, but I don't think I need a 2 mana rock to get me to 4 mana on turn 3. The biggest thing is that we need Ashling down first and then to have 4 mana. So the ramp spells are more about casting other stuff sooner. Instead of hitting Doubling Season on turn 5, getting that thing down turn 4 or even turn 3. Instead of Ashling, and then playing Ashling and then evoking something. Depending on how we ramp into it. If we do like turn 3 Ashling and then we take turn 4 off of evoking an elemental in order to get a Doubling Season effect online, that seems perfectly reasonable. But I don't think... So then the argument becomes, well, Felwar Stone comes into play untapped. Is that at all helpful more so than the land fetchers? And while I do think it's slightly better for that reason, I also think we're more vulnerable to artifact destruction. And I think I would rather ramp with the lands at that point, if the artifact itself is not giving us multiple extra mana. That's where my brain's at with it anyway. But I do think that means Arcane Signet can go too. We'll just jump ahead to that one. And that does drop us down to 8 ramp spells, I believe. And 2 of those ramp spells are creatures, which are incredibly vulnerable. But they're also creatures that tap for 2 mana each, so I have a hard time cutting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're down to 7 ramp spells officially. That brings us down to 68. So 8 more cuts. What are the last 8 cards take off of this list? Yeah, Crucible and Topstay. Crucible also goes a long way towards making sure we're not too crimped on mana. If it wasn't for the fact that the one elemental that lets us play extra lands from the graveyard is like a 6-drop or a 7-drop, and its main thing is doubling up on landfall triggers, I think it might be a 7, but it's definitely at least a 6. It's the other Green Warden. Like Ancient Green Warden or something. Yeah, I would... If Ice-Till Explorer or Ramunap were elementals instead of insects and snakes, I would probably try and jam at least one more of them into this deck, but sadly that is not the world we live in. Drifter, Shriekmaw, Smoke Braider. Yeah, only 3 elementals from original Lorwyn Shadowmoor, but I think all 3 of them need to stay in. Definitely don't cut Mikaeus. Cut the Dictate. Green Warden, Omnath. Is it Omnath? Omnath is a lot stronger in Brawl, where the opponent's life total is lower to start off with, and there's only the 1 to concern ourselves with. But if we can get Omnath to stick in play for any amount of time, losing the other elementals, because we're constantly losing other elementals. Like, Omnath is one of the few where I really would like to have Omnath in play, as opposed to, like, if I can evoke him, that's usually going to be good enough. Evoking him is still strong, and he does still work with the doubling season effects in that there will be multiple Omnaths in play for a half second, and all of them will see themselves and each other dying until there's only one proper Omnath left. So, because you choose one, and then all of the other ones go to the graveyard simultaneously. So, that means every single one of them will see every single one that dies. And so if there are 3 Omnaths in play, that is 2 of them dying for a grand total of 6 triggers. It might still be Omnath, legitimately. Don't want to lose any of those. I'm not losing Norn. Caretaker's talent should be a draw an extra card. It should basically be a personal Howling Mine that can do other stuff. I'm wondering if that's not good enough. Like, card flow is important to me, but we have Greater Good, we have Kindred Discovery. What are our other card draw spells that are... We have, like, Muldrifter and Shine Striker. Maybe Caretaker's Talent. Need 8 more cuts. I came back to it fresh. I saw some cards. Cavalier is another major card draw, so is Risen Reef. Do I need Grief? We have 2 proper counter spells and some pseudo counters to certain things. If it functionally negates the effect of the card, it doesn't matter that it didn't actually counter the spell, and sometimes that's even a little bit better. When the spell can't be countered, but the effect was neutralized anyway. Do we need Solitude? Or not Solitude, Grief. Sorry, Solitude we definitely need. Solitude is way too strong as a creature removal spell. Do we need Grief? Because I would not cut Grief from the Brawl version of the deck, but again, that's heads up. If I take your best card, that's pretty good. If I wind up taking your 2 best cards, sometimes for no actual mana spent, like if I exile a card from my hand and evoke Grief with Ashling in play, that's usually the end of the game if they could not cast their spells in response. But in a multiplayer format, that's going to cripple one player or, nerf 2 players, but not necessarily end the game in my favor. It just means they might need to find something different. Yeah, maybe Grief is not good enough in a multiplayer setting. Alright, so Grief brings us down to 67, which should make all the little kids happy. Do I have to get rid of like 1 or 2 other pieces of removal that aren't elementals at this point? Oh my god, am I gonna cut Casualties of War? Because I have Absence, Windgrace's Judgment, Farewell, O-Stone. Do I cut a 6-mana sorcery that only kills like 4 to 6 permanents? Because I have elementals that will kill all these problematic permanent types. So do I need a 6-mana sorcery? Do I need another 6-mana sorcery to do that also? Like, okay, so obviously one opponent can have multiple problematic permanents that need to be dealt with, but with 2 different cards that both kill any non-land permanent type from each opponent. Like, if I'm not going to cut Casualties of War at this point, I need to seriously consider cutting Windgrace's Judgment then. Am I cutting Windgrace's Judgment then? As a 5-mana instant that kills one permanent from each opponent. I need 7 more cuts. I do think I can give up a non-elemental removal spell, possibly 2. Like, I've already cut Path to Exile. Is it really that much more insane to cut Casualties of War? I think it's close, actually. Like, casualties, as far as, like, gold cards go, is very high on the list for me. Just gold cards in general is probably my favorite black-green card ever. It used to be Pernicious Deed, but, you know, times they have a change, and Casualties of War is definitely the inheritor to the I'm gonna blow up a whole bunch of stuff black-green card for me, as opposed to Assassin's Trophy, which is way more efficient, but and definitely very far up there on my black-green cards that I want to run in every single deck. But it does not quite hit Casualties of War level. Yeah, I think this is where I'm at right now. That feels real weird. Even with all of the other removal that we have. Why get out of the middle of that? Alright, down to 66. And I don't feel like I can cut any of the other removal at that point. It already hurt to cut what we did, so Lamentation, Renewed Solidarity, Unexplained Absence, Clever Concealment, Deflecting Swat. I can cut Deflecting Swat. I don't know that that is correct. I can't handle Ashling dying like 3 times in a game comfortably. Like, that is so much mana to get her back online. That's not really what this deck is capable of. By the time Ashling is that far gone, I'm probably going to start hard casting the elementals and getting value out of them that way first. Before I get an Ashnod's Altar or something on and then get her back into play and start sacrificing things for value again. And Deflecting Swat goes goes a long way towards not having to recast her again. Or at least making everybody else at the table work for it. Yeah, like one person's removal spell is not going to be good enough. We already have Fierce Guardianship and Clever Concealment, so part of me wants to cut the Herald's Horn, and then there's the other part of me that's like, that is actually cutting off one of your better things. Like, I think the Herald's Horn and the The Gathering Stone are what made me feel more comfortable cutting Felwar Stone and Arcane Signet, so I don't think I can cut them anymore. There is still a part of me that's like, you can probably cut it, and it's like, I really don't think I can now. Our main thing to cast in a turn cycle are elemental cards, so anything that is making it easier to cast multiple elementals in a turn is at least worth considering. And I think I'm at the point where it's beyond consideration. It's now like, no, I really do need this. Is it Terror of the Peaks? We're down to what, 3 non-elementals? It's this thing, Norn, and Mikaeus. It is a lot of damage. But I don't think I actually need it. Like, I don't think I replace it with Warstorm Surge. I think I just cut it. At this point. It is a game ender once we have hit critical mass, but I don't think we need it once we get to that point. It's definitely something where it's like, okay, this is going to make it a lot easier to just win the game here, but I don't think it is the thing that I need right now. Back to scrolling up this way. Visits. Windflame Travelers is staying. Shine Striker is staying. Gathering Stone. Flame Braider. Airdew. Rottenmouth. Caretaker's Talent. It might still be Caretaker's Talent, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet. Elish Norn. Titan of Industry. Riveteer's Ascendancy. Offer I can't refuse. Farewell. Fire of Heroes. Yes, I'm saying each one of them dramatically, so that way I focus on each one of them. Like, there are only 6 more cuts that we need. Is this the card right now? Even things that I'm almost definitely not cutting. Anointed Procession. Like, how do I cut Anointed Procession in this deck? I don't think that I can. Panharmonicon. Omnath Locus of Rage. Are we at this point yet? I think cutting the Terror is fine. I don't like cutting Omnath as much. Omnath being an elemental helps it out a lot here. So even though the dragon is a lot more potent in this deck, when it's in play, it's not part of the theme, and Omnath is still very strong. Green Warden of Marasa. Needs a capital G as the second G. I already fixed this once. Still fixing it. Dictate of Erebos. I cannot bring myself to remove it with all of the things that we are sacrificing. It kind of hurts that we don't have Martyr's Bond or Grave Pact in this deck already. Mikaeus the Unhallowed. Just way too strong in this deck. The only thing it has going against it is being a 6-drop triple black spell that I can't evoke. Once it is in play, it is absurdly powerful in this deck, though. Like, you have to get rid of Mikaeus, or this deck is going to pop off immediately afterwards. It might even be able to go off in the same turn, depending on what I have access to. it's a lot harder to go off in the one turn, but if I birthing pod into Machias while I have access to any amount of mana, if my 5-drop suddenly becomes Machias, that's going to be huge. I don't think I have any other ways to cheat him into play, but I did see that birthing pod up above, and I'm like, if he's the thing I actually get, because I still have a ton of 5s in the deck, we're almost completely out of 4s if we're not actually done with them entirely for elementals, but the 5s are plentiful still, and turning one of those into him as the 6-drop is probably going to overwhelm our opponents. Or they're going to have an answer for him immediately, and I'm not going to get all the cool value that I wanted to. Yeah, I don't think I can cut Machias. Parallel Lives, Anointed Procession gets cut before Parallel Lives. Birthing Pod, absolutely staying in this deck. One of the better sacrifice outlets. Gone, Viewbot. Smoke Braider. Worse than Flame Braider, but we've cut a bunch of other mana sources. I don't think we cut Smoke Braider. It's a 2-mana Soul Ring on a 1/1 body. It is Palladium Mirror that taps for colored mana if I need it to. Shriekmaw. Worse than Lamentation and Solitude. Can I cut Shriekmaw? Cavalier of Dawn is more versatile. I think it's Shriekmaw. Shriekmaw's been one of the first ones in a while that I've had a legitimate argument against. Alright. Alright. I think it's Shriekmaw. 4 more cuts. Yeah, it's worse than 3 other elementals that are also, fighting for the same spot as it. I think it might actually be the cut, and obviously I have made it the cut, but I don't feel like I'm going to go back and add in Shriekmaw after this. Like, if I put the deck together and play with it, I don't think I'm going to go, you know what I really desperately need? Shriekmaw. I think it was definitely good enough to make the deck. But this might be if you don't have Lamentation or something. Can't get your hands on one, grab your Shriekmaw type deal. I have no idea what Lamentation's going for. If it's actually worth money or not. It's one of the reasons to be buying the Commander deck in the first place. Farseek. Not cutting any more ramp. Doubling Season. Cutting Anointed Procession before Doubling Season. The only downside to Doubling Season is that Erdu is Persist, and Doubling Season will see me putting counters on my thing, and will put twice as many counters, so my 2 toughness creatures will immediately explode again. So I cannot use Erdu to protect any of my 2 toughness creatures. I will get their triggers again, though, for them coming into play. I'm not sacrificing them so I don't get replacement ones, and I don't have time to either. It immediately comes back with the 2 counters on it. It enters with the 2 counters on it, so state-based effects will kill it off before I get a chance to sacrifice it to anything else. But I don't think that's a good enough argument to cut Doubling Season. Maybe if I had a 4th token doubler, it might be worth considering cutting Doubling Season because it's 5 mana, and I do have one card that puts negative counters on my own things on purpose, like something that I do plan on using. The doubling season is a tiny bit worse because of that. So if there was a different 4 mana enchantment that I was running that would double up on my token production, but unfortunately everything else is a creature itself, so that is less helpful. Sensei's Divining Top. I don't think I can cut top when I already have all of the fetch lands plus Gathering Stone and Herald's Horn. I don't think cutting Sensei's Divining Top is correct. It's already a card that I don't want to cut to begin with. Sensei's Divining Top, after Sol Ring, is probably the most default card in all of my commander decks. I think I've cut Sensei's Divining Top as many times as I've cut Sol Ring from a deck. In that, I think I have done it once for each of them. And not necessarily... They might have even been in the same deck, honestly. It might have been that I had so much artifact hate that running either of them seemed reckless. I think it's close. If they do not have the exact same number of times I've cut them from a deck, then it's probably like 2 times for top and once for Sol Ring, something like that. Not cutting Crucible, it fixes the mana too well. I don't believe I cut O-Stone. I've already cut Cyclonic Rift and a bunch of targeted removal. I do want a second catch-all for when the board has grown completely out of control and I can't do anything about it. Also, it is a card I can get back as a permanent, as opposed to Farewell, which I currently don't have cards that will let me buy back instants and sorcery specifically. So, it's usually instants and sorcery. Obviously, I just need a card that would buy back a sorcery, but it's usually going to allow me to do both at that point. So, I do think I keep the O-Stone. You know what I haven't done in for... Like, I literally have not done this since I put the list together. It might be time to do a quick count and make sure when I get to the top this time that I actually still need 4 cuts and not, secretly 7 randomly to drive me insane, or, only 1 or 2 more. Make sure I didn't miscount or forget to knock numbers down after cutting things. Yeah, Mana Echoes is not going. Okay, so there was O-Stone. Mana Echoes is not going. Literally being able to chain every elemental together in my hand for the first 4 mana with Ashling out is way too strong. And there will be times where I will actually have 1 or more other elementals in play and be able to go up mana. And that's going to be even better. Aura Shards. Turns every single one of my creatures into another Foundation Breaker on top of that, where I just get to naturalize something. We are going to have a lot of creatures entering and leaving, so don't think I can cut Aura Shards. I'm not cutting Food Chain. Works too well in the deck. I would cut Herald's Horn and Gathering Stone before I would cut Incubator. Attrition as one of my sacrifice outlets. I should not steeple my fingers and then press them against my face when the microphone is slightly to my side. That might cut off my voice significantly. How much does it mute me? Looks like it would probably change the volume of my voice from, like, your end and whatnot, but it doesn't cut me off entirely. Is it attrition? Dictative Erebos is better, but I'm going to have a lot of creatures that are dying anyway. Being able to pick off your stuff for a couple extra black mana. Obviously, I would rather have Dictate of Erebos in play, but I feel like if I cut Attrition, I would still want Grave Pact or Martyr's Bond. The biggest thing about Attrition is it can't kill black creatures. It has that old Doomblade Rider on it still. Considering it predates Doomblade, but it has that old Half Terror where it can't kill a specific creature color. Almost always black, but every once in a great while, things like Death Rattle, where it couldn't kill a green creature, would show up. I don't think I can cut Attrition. I might have to at this point, but we'll see. Worn Power Stone gives me 2 colorless mana. That is half an activation on Ashling. It's also at the mana mark. Like, one of the things I was most struggling with Brawl was getting to the 4 and 5 range, which 4 is a huge problem for Ashling. Not being able to get to 4 mana is quite the ordeal. So I don't think I want to cut Worn Power Stone. Greater Good, I will cut Attrition before I will cut Greater Good. So yeah, making sure the card flow is enough. Survival of the Fittest. It's a toolbox deck. I don't think I can cut Survival. I think that's way too good here. Being able to get rid of an elemental that's not helping to go find the one that is. For 1 green mana, that's gotta be too strong. Is it Goblin Bombardment? We've cut Maha, we've cut Magma. We still have plenty of sacrifice outlets. We don't have as many to take advantage of the original creature dying, because 2 of them are at sorcery speed. But at the same time, is 1 extra damage worth the card slot in my deck now? I gotta say, I don't think it is anymore. I think I can afford to cut Goblin Bombardment. It still hurts, but not as much as it should. So I think it's the correct one now. I'm not prepared to cut Teferi's Veil yet. Being able to keep the creature tokens every turn that I can attack with them. Every turn cycle, as long as I can attack with them on my turn. For only 2 mana, probably too good. Vampiric Tutor's not going. Nature's Lure, still not prepared to cut any more ramp. Ashnod's Altar is not leaving this deck under any circumstances. Sword stays. I still have a ton of creature removal, but this one's just way too mana efficient. Soul Ring stays. Demonic Tutor stays. Alright, so we cut Goblin Bombardment. So, in theory, we have 63 cards. Let's make sure that that is correct. And that I don't have to either agonize over more cards or just be done. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Ashling is 60, 61, 62. Alright, so we only need 2 more cuts, and I'm glad I did that, because now it is just the last 2. I think I'm going to lose Caretaker's Talent. It's definitely strong enough to be in the deck. I don't think I need it. I do have other card draw in the deck. I do like that it can make an extra token copy of something I've already made. Most likely that turn, though, so it's a little bit weaker. But not so much that... Like, in other decks, you might be able to make a token and then, like, if it's still in play 4 or 5 turns later, you know, if somebody hasn't killed it, then you get to spend the white mana and make another copy of it. For me, it's like, if nobody else kills it, I'm probably going to lose it at the end of the turn anyway, so. Alright, so that's that one. So one more cut, and then we double check the mana, figure out what lands we want, and then we're good. Quick stretch. What is the last card? What card deserves a spot in the deck, but is at the lower end of what is left? Which card do I look at and go, no, I don't actually need this? Normally for me it would be Deflecting Swap, but I don't think that that's correct here. Like I said, I know it's a free spell and it's very powerful. But for me, it has always been Fierce Guardianship and Flawless Maneuver until Farewell became the thing that I most had to deal with and Clever Concealment got printed. Which is, again, not to say that Fierce Guardian, or Flawless Maneuver, rather, is not playable. It's just that I usually don't feel like I have room for Flawless Maneuver and Clever Concealment at the same time. And sometimes when I do, I also want Teferi's Protection instead. So. Who is it? Who is the last card on this list? That I can cut and still feel like the deck is good. Is it Omnath? And if it's not Omnath, who is it? Omnath is so strong in this deck, because I'm always losing elementals. That's kind of the point. So being able to throw around lightning bolts on top of that. just been making arguments for all these cards. Is it attrition then? Attrition is one of the last ones I had a decent argument against besides Omnath, and I don't think it's Omnath. I think it is attrition. Being able to turn one of these 6s into Omnath, I think, is good enough that it's better it's attrition. We're not super hurting for creature removal, and like I said, I will cut attrition before something like Dictate of Erebos, so I think it's attrition. Alright. So, the deck is one of each: Plains, Island, Swamp, Mountain, Forest. So we're running one of each basic. Let's see what the other lands are. So each one of these stays. If you haven't been here for any of my discussions on this, you do not actually need the original dual lands. If you are going with the way I am building the deck, like if you are going to replace the dual lands specifically, but you have access to the fetches and the shocks, you need another set of tutorable dual lands. At that point, what I might actually recommend, if you have access to them, is the triomes and the mob boss hideouts, which I usually refer to as triomes anyway, from Ikoria and New Capenna. That's what I used for Brawl version of Ashling, and the mana base was very consistent on Brawl. Like, the color, I was never hurting for colors. I was always able to fix for whatever colors I needed. Sometimes I would be hurting for volume of mana. If you don't have access to them, if you have access to the Surveil lands, for example, from Mirza Karlov Manor, would be good. At the end of the day, what you actually need is a fetchable land of each that corresponds to each one of the dual lands. So it doesn't super matter if it's Elegant Parlor or if it's like, I think it's like Sacred Peaks from Dominaria United. As long as it is fetchable. If you do not have the fetch lands and you don't have the original duels, at that point you're looking at shocks plus triomes. You almost definitely need the triomes. You will be able to cut Crucible of Worlds at that point, and Sensei's Divine Top gets a lot weaker. So you might want to look for some of the cards that we cut near the end for replacement cards for the deck. But you do not need the original dual lands. I own them, and so I use them as part of the mana base for basically every deck I construct that's 2 or more colors, unless I have a very specific reason not to run non-basics. And even then, I usually would run them. Even when I had a non-basic land hate sub-package in my Rorick Thar deck, because I was already dealing damage to you for casting your spells, I might as well hate on your mana base and have that hurt you also. I still ran Taiga and Stomping Grounds, because I don't mind taking a few points of damage off of my Burning Earth or Primal Order, and turning them into just Mountains with Blood Moon was perfectly fine. So yeah, you do not actually need the dual lands in order for this deck to function, but you do need a mana base that allows for being able to produce the colors that you need. There's also an argument to be made that if you don't have access to the dual lands, if you don't have access to the fetches, the tri-lands, and the shock lands, you're going to need more lands that produce 1 mana of any color. That's going to make for a slightly more painful mana base than what we already have, because cards like City of Brass and Starting Town will ping you every time you tap them for mana Confluence, but you might need cards like that because you don't have access to a more streamlined mana base. So you need your lands to, like, you need the lands that you are running to make up for the fact that the lands you don't have are like that you don't have access to the mana base that this deck currently has. Like, I think at that point you need to substitute at least one set of lands, if you can, for lands that will tap for mana of any color without significant downside. You're always going to get a downside. There just aren't lands that can tap for mana of any color for no, like, where nothing is stopping them from working properly. So you want ones that um, don't blow up or wander off. So you don't really want like Gemstone Mine or Undiscovered Paradise or anything. Rainbow Veil, good God, no. Um, so you're looking at that point, probably ones that deal a bunch of damage to you at some point in time. Um, Multiversal Passage is probably worth considering, even though it only fixes for one color. You always get to choose what color it is. Um, if you're running more basics and you have access to like Terramorphic and whatnot, that's going to make Mikaeus a lot worse in the deck, though, because you do not need that much black mana for almost anything else in the deck. So the triple black's going to be a problem. Um, but yeah, you're going to have to reconstruct the mana base from what you have available. So do take that into account, and like I said, you're going to need more lands that can produce at least 3 colors of mana, preferably all of them at that point if you don't have access to the fetches, the triomes, and the shock lands, which is still a very expensive mana base, but obviously nowhere near the dual land build that I have right now. So that is my recommendation, though, for 5 color. Um, it is very difficult to build a good 5 color mana base without access to a lot of expensive lands. But it is not impossible. It's just going to be a bit shakier than normal. But that's kind of the whole point of why I'm running these lands. I have access to them, and they are slightly better than the other alternatives. So, hmm. Says I have 33. Do I have room for a land? Did I not pick out enough non-basics? So these 10 are accounted for. Ancient Tomb is one of the 5. Frozen Verge is one of the 5. These are all accounted for. There are 5 lands unaccounted for, or 5 land spaces unaccounted for. All of these are accounted for. Same with these. Man Tower. And that's it. So we actually do have room for 2 more non-basic lands. Um, so what would we want at that point? Pipeline is land. Oh, wait, they're super types. My only graveyard hate currently is endurance. Do I want another bit of graveyard hate in the mana base? Do I want the one desert or a Bojuka Bog? Maybe. I don't think I need Academy Ruins for anything. I don't think there's um any artifacts that I so desperately need. Like, obviously I want Ashnod's Altar back if something bad happens to it, but I don't think it's worth running Ancient Ruins as a colorless land in this deck. There's an argument to be made for Agadeem's Awakening. Can be played as a land. Archway of Innovation. Argoth, no. Yeah, we only have one of each basic. I do not want an Ash Barrens or a oh god, what's the name's just gone out of my head? The Modern Horizons fetch that only hits basics. But it's actually like a fetch like pay a life, get the land untapped. My god, why can I not think of this thing's name? It's actually going to bother me now. Balaged Recovery has a strong argument. It is actually actively bothering me that I cannot remember that thing's name. Prismatic Vista. Oh my god. I don't think Barad-dûr is worth running. It's too much extra mana on top of the activation cost. Any bossing say I would not consider Bazaar Baghdad as one of the lands, as in put the little L bracket in front of it because it does not make mana. So I would consider it a spell in the deck. Also, I don't think it's necessary. Also, it's like $1,000, and I don't want to add another one of those in there. Yuka Bog. I always love me a Boseiju. As far as utility lands go, Boseiju is one of my favorites. The Neon Dynasties one. Of these. Think I need any of the manlands at all. Chocobo Camp, adorable, but not what I need. Brass, City of Traders. Any of these, I don't think. I already have Command Tower, so. What other lands? Cryptic Spires. Sylvain. Target legendary creature gains menace until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Nope. Yeah, right now I'm actually leaning towards Balaged Recovery and um, the desert that lets you sacrifice a desert to exile a graveyard. Those are the two cards that most stick out to me as being worth including here. I think it's what I'm ultimately going to go with unless something else jumps out at me as being like, no, this is the card. Like, I was thinking about Flamekin Village, but I don't actually need it. Or Primal Beyond. Like on Arena, the slot was taken up by an alchemy land. The one that lets you seek a creature of the most prevalent creature type in your deck. It's not a Gaia's Cradle deck. So far, none of these have pushed past it. Like, I'm still leaning towards Balagad Recovery because I'm putting so many things in the graveyard anyway, and a way to hate on the graveyard more consistently. Yeah, I don't think Hostile and Creeping In going to be good enough. None of these strike me as the card. We don't need to tutor any of our artifacts necessarily, and we need to have 3 of them already in play. I don't think we have enough artifacts in the deck for that. Alright. Turn up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. It's okay. It's not amazing, and I don't think it's one I want. Yeah, I don't see it. This is banned. None of these. Library. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Like, I'm pretty much settled on the 2 lands that we're going to be running. It's Scavenger Grounds and Balagad Recovery. I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything that would be better served in this slot. One of those 2. So far, it does not look like it. Yeah, I don't think this is a Mystic Sanctuary deck. I play. Nope. Villages, don't need any of the Ogiers. Scorp. Ancestry. Yeah, Path requires that I use the mana from Path and it's entering tapped. It is a 5-color land though, and it's going to let me scry 1 pretty much every turn. Nah, I think I'd rather have the other 2. Graveyard Hate and getting stuff back from my graveyard are 2 of the stronger things I can be doing. Nexus. Plaza. Plaza. Is in fact Prismatic Vista. Yeah, I've been staring at lists too long. I'm starting to lose focus, so I need to get through the rest of the list. Like, just find anything. If there's any other card worthy of consideration. So far, there's been nothing. Cast a creature spell of the chosen type, or activate an ability of the creature of the chosen type. Otherwise, it taps for colorless. Yeah, that's not better than the other two. For this deck, I'm not hurting for ways to fix my mana, so. Woodland is okay. Most of my things are comes into play, not like attack triggers or something. Or we do have a few death triggers, but not many. So Forge. No. All the snow-covered lands. Arrow's Path, never. Not enough artifacts for Spire. Don't think I need Starting Town. I don't think I need any of the planets, honestly. If I needed a planet, it would be the white one. Getting to copy Doubling Season or Panharmonicon would be a bit too good. All of the temples. I don't think I bother with Temple, the False Gods. While another land that taps for more than one mana is a little bit tempting, I do think I need a land that's not going to be non-functional in the early game. Tabernacle doesn't produce mana. Tabernacle is actually okay in this deck because I'm not planning on holding on to my stuff. So having an upkeep cost on all of my creatures is kind of whatever. Kill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. But it's triple black, and it is a mono black land on top of that. So I don't think so. Maybe if it tapped for mana of any color, I might consider it. Because we're definitely going to put stuff into the graveyard. Having a way to get it back is interesting. This has to be a colorless card, right? Not just a 7-drop. Yeah, a colorless card with mana value 7 or greater. That is not my deck. Urzatron or his Saga. It's other weird stuff. Lost Lair, new. Suva, new. They spell Balaged. I think it's BHA. Oh no, Bala. Why did I think there was an H in Balaged? So it's from Zendikar Resurgent. Or Rising. Sorry, Zendikar Resurgent is the enchantment. The flip side is named Balaged Sanctuary. E. I'm like, I know it's wrong, I just don't know why it's wrong right now. Oops. A very. It's the wrong V. So this should be Balaged. Tuna green, sorcery. Land. Alright. And the one is Scavenger Grounds, I believe. Oops. Man, I can't type today. I think it's Scavenger Ground. Is it Scavenging Ground? What is the name of this card? Why is it not... Alright, back to this one. Go to the S's. E, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, M, P, R... Scavenger Grounds. Okay. Killing me, and this was from... Oh, what was the original printing? First one is Hour of Devastation. Okay. Alright. So that is the deck. And yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do a commander build for Ninja Turtles. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So this should be going live after I've come back. Because I'm slow drip feeding YouTube all of my videos, so that way I have enough for while I'm gone. But I don't think I'm going to have time before the whatever set comes out immediately after that. I'm guessing Strixhaven at this point, but it could be the Lord of the Rings. I don't know. So many sets coming out this year. But yeah, it's going to do it for me for right now, so thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.